All right, so we're going to work on creating linear equations. So yesterday we talked about putting it into the form of a statement that looks like this. So y equals mx plus b. So this is a format that I'm going to ask you guys to turn your information and put it into this equation here. Okay, so this is important to know. Write it down again. The more you write it, the more familiar you are with it. It becomes a habit, and it's something that you can refer to when you need to. Okay, so we have a bunch of points here, right? There's different ways of coming up with this. One of the easiest ways when you have a table with information. Yes. Mx plus b. So when we have ordered pairs, okay, we can write them up and then we can graph them. And that shows us if that line's going to be linear or not. And if it's a linear, what do I mean by linear? What is a linear equation? What do I mean by linear? Anybody? Look at the word, see if you find another word in there that might help you out. In the word linear. Coordinate plane is not in the word linear. What do you say? Line, right? So a linear equation is going to create a line. Okay, so that's what we want to see. We want to see if these coordinate pairs are going to create a line. So when we have ordered pairs like this, they're labeled as x and y. Remember, x is my input, y is my output. Okay, we're still looking at functions and relating linear equations to a function. Okay, so on a graph, our vertical line is always going to be the y-axis, and your horizontal line is always going to be your x-axis. So what you're putting in, and then what you're getting out. Okay, input, output. So x is your input, right? And it's also going to be your x-axis. And the x in your ordered pair. Y is your output. And when we graph it, it will be represented by the y-axis. All right? So these numbers here, I can write them up as an ordered pair. So I have 0, because that's my x, and then my y is going to be 150. They correspond to one another. My next ordered pair is going to be 2 and 125. What would my next ordered pair be? Jimena? 4 and 100. Perfect. And David, what's my next ordered pair?
6 and 75.
6 and 7. You guys see it? You're making that connection. Okay. So I don't have to write them up as ordered pairs. I did it this time because I want you to make that connection between the correlation between my x and my y's here and my ordered pairs. So I can take these numbers and graph them on this graph. Okay. So I have my x is 0. That means I don't move right. But my y is 150. So I go all the way up and I put my first point at 150. My second one is 2. So I go right 2. There's my 2. And my output is 125. So I go all the way up to, looks like here. Looks like these go by 25. My next one is 4 and 100. So I find my 4 on the x. I go up to my 100. And I put a point there. You should be graphing this. Bless you. My next one is 6 and then 75. So 6 is x. Go up to 75, and there's my next point. And my last ordered pair is 8 and 50. So I go right to my 8 and then up to 50. And then I'm going to connect them. I need my tools up. When I connect them, my tools pop up. There they are. When I connect them, I get, what do I get? A nice straight line. So this table tells me that this can be a linear equation. Okay? So I can take this information and write the linear equation. Yesterday we talked about what B is. What is B? I had you write it down in your notes, so if you have your notes out while we're doing this, you can refer to them. What constitutes B? What tells me what B is? Angel? When X is what? Nope. When X is what? You wrote it down. Chris?
0.
When X is 0. Here, X is 0. Y is what? What's Y? 150. So I know that my B in this equation is going to be 150. So I need to take 2 of these ordered pairs and work them up as my problem. Okay, so you guys are going to need to find these ordered pairs. So I'm missing the M. And yesterday I told you that the M was the slope. So this decline here. What is that decline? There's different ways to find it. Today we're going to use point slope or slope formula. Okay, so I'm going to take my first 2 that I have up there, these 2 here, and I'm going to label them. This is X sub 1. This is Y sub 1. This one here is going to be X sub 2, and this one is Y sub 2. So we always write down, so M is going to equal the change in Y over the change in X. Okay, so I'm going to take these numbers that I labeled and I'm going to substitute them. What is my Y2? What number is Y2? 125. So I'm going to start with 125. And I'm always going to subtract my Y1. What is my Y1? 150. What's my X2? No, X2. 2. And I'm always going to subtract my X1. What's X1? Okay. So 125 minus 150 is going to give me a negative number, isn't it? Negative what? And 2 minus 0 is what? So I have a negative slope, right? Can I divide 25 by 2? Not evenly, right? It's not an even number. So I'm going to leave it in fraction form. Now I started out with M equals. I gave you a formula. I substituted and I ended up with a fraction. So what is this? This fraction is going to be my value for M. So my fraction is going to be negative 25 over 2. Okay? I took this information, I graphed it. Is it going downhill? So it is negative. I ended up with a negative slope. And now I'm going to use point slope formula to find my equation. This actually gets easier. This is probably the most difficult part of what you're doing here. Okay? Go ahead and make sure you have all of this copied. All right, so let's go ahead and erase what I have here. And we're going to do this one now. This has smaller numbers, should be a little bit easier. What do I do first? Graph it. Okay, so go ahead, graph yours. While I'm graphing, I want you to be graphing yours. And we're going to see if this is going to be a linear equation. Looks like those bottom lines, my x's go by 2, so make sure you're paying attention. 2, 4, 6. Your y's go by 10, or 5, 5, 10. So make sure you're paying attention to the increments. Did everybody get a straight line? Yeah. So we can make this a linear equation then, right? So I'm going to take my first two ordered pairs. I'm going to write them up here. I'm going to say 4, 15. And then my second ordered pair is 6, 20. Let me ask you something, though, before we go on from there. Is x 0 in any of these? But if I was to extend my line, what is the change for my x's here? What am I doing? Up by what? Up by 2, right? So if I went down 2, over here I'd have 2. And what is this going down by? So this would be 10, right? If I went down 2 more, I'd have 0. And what would this be? So can I figure out, based just by giving this information, what my y-intercept is, my b is? What is my b then? No, my b is not 0. What is y when x is 0? Right? So what's my y-intercept going to be? That's my b. What is it? It's going to be 5. All right, so let's look at these two numbers. I picked my first two ordered pairs. Remember, I did this work here, so I know what my b is. My b is going to be what? What's my b going to be? My b is what y is when x is 0. What is my b?
5.
Thank you. Okay, so I have two ordered pairs here. I'm going to label them x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. My ordered pairs are always x and y. X and y. So you should be labeling them down on your paper as well. Here's my line. Here's my ordered pair. I know what b is. So I can actually start my equation. Y is equal to m. I don't know what m is. X doesn't change. And then I have my b as plus 5, right? Because it's above my 0. Still a positive 5. I need to figure out what m is. I do that by using that slope formula. So m is equal to change in y over change in x. Right? So I can take this information from up here and substitute it into my formula. Right? So I'm going to draw my line. What is my y sub 2 value? What is it? 20. I'm always going to subtract sub 1. What is sub 1? Now I'm going to take my x sub 2 value. What's my x sub 2 value? And what is, always subtracting, what is my x sub 1 value? X1 is 4. Okay, now I do the math. What is 20 minus 15? 20 minus 15? 5. And what is 6 minus 4? 2. 6 minus 4 is negative? Positive 2. So there it is. What does m equal then? I'm just, instead of writing m up here, I'm going to write 5 over 2. Is it positive? Does my line go uphill? Okay, so that's how you take this information and turn it into a linear equation. So the equation of this line is y equals 5 over 2x plus 5. This equation is y equals 5 over 2x plus 5. When we start graphing, we're going to write the equation of the line on your graph. Okay? Does it make a little bit more sense than it did yesterday? Yeah, I'm sorry about technical difficulties. Old school teaching, man. I don't know how those teachers did it back in the 80s. Just kidding. I started out old school. I don't remember. All right. I want you guys to do exactly what we just did for C on your paper. Go ahead and work on C. All right, so far, what I've seen is you guys graphed it correctly. We went -4, up 4. We went -2, up 6. We went 0, 8. We went 2, 10. And then we went 4, 12. Right? And we ended up with a nice clean line like this. Right? And so far, so good. That's what I expected you guys to do. The next part is where you're all getting stuck. Okay? So I'm going to write my equation. Y equals, I don't know what m is. X doesn't change. What is my b going to be? What will it be? What is my y-intercept? You should be able to see it just by looking at that chart. What is my y-intercept going to be? Why is it -4? What is my b going to be? What is my y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? At 8. When x is 0, that's my y-intercept. Now I need to find the slope. Okay? This is where you guys are getting stuck. So I'm going to help you by picking 2. I've got -4, 4. And I've got -2, 6. I'm going to label them x sub 1, y sub 1. This is my x sub 2, y sub 2. X and y, x and y. My first ordered pair gets the 1. My second ordered pair gets a sub 2. Here's my formula. M is equal to y2 always minus y1. X2 always minus x1. Okay? Now finish it. Substitute my numbers and tell. All right, look. I'm going to go ahead and fill in some information. I want you guys to pay attention. Okay, so y sub 2 is 6. I'm always going to subtract my sub 1, which is 4. X sub 2 is -2, and I'm always going to subtract my x1, which is -4. I'm going to write that -4 in parentheses. Just because it's negative doesn't mean that I'm going to write my 4 here. I have to make sure that I'm subtracting a negative because that changes things, okay? That's going to change what I actually do on this denominator. The top part is easy. What is 6 minus 4? Top part's super simple, right? But here, instead of negative 2 minus a 4, I'm actually doing what here, Nathan? What am I actually doing here? This becomes a plus. Okay, so now I have a negative 2 plus a 4. If I did my T-chart, I have a negative 2. Now I have a positive 4. So I'm actually going to be subtracting that 2 from that 4, which gives me a positive 2. So my answer is 2 over 2. But I can actually simplify this information, right? What is 2 over 2? Or 2, it's 1, right? So it actually equals 1. Now in junior high, I'd be okay if you told me 1x plus 8. Okay? But in high school, they're going to expect you to say y equals x plus 8. We just assume that Juan is there. But Juan is shy. Juan likes to hide. Today, you give me 1x, I'm okay with that. You get to high school, they're going to expect you to drop the 1. Okay? And let them hide. All right? How many of you guys had this proper equation already written up?
I sort of had.
So we're getting there, right? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one because I want you guys to be able to complete your practice book page. Does anybody not have the practice book page at home? All right. All right, so let's look here. Let's look at B. I'm not gonna have you working with pi yet. So we're not doing A, but let's look at B. Okay, so we're going to look at this function here and see if we can figure it out. And it's really the same thing. Actually, hang on. Let me see what the next one is. Yeah, it's just more of the same. Okay. I want you guys to go ahead and do B on your own. And then I'll let you start your homework because it's just more of the same. We're taking this information. We're graphing it. Can we find, listen, where is x0 in this table? Is it there? So can I find it? What's my change up here? Plus 1, right? So to get to 0, what do I got to do? So if I'm going to subtract 1 here, it's going to give me 0, right? What's my change here? 10 to 2, it's plus 2. So if I'm going to subtract 1 to get to 0, I have to do what over here? Minus 2. So what's this number going to be? Do I know what my plus b is now?
Yes.
My plus b is 8, right? So you're not always going to, it's not always going to be there, but if you find the change, then you'll be able to find where x is 0 and what y is in that instance. Okay, so go ahead and graph this and then give me the linear equation. So I want to know y equals what? X. And what is my b now? What is b? What is my b? So I need you guys to tell me what m is. Go ahead and work on that one. If you get it right, I'll let you guys. All right, for those of you that are struggling, here we go. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so I'm going to pick 2 ordered pairs. I'm going to say 1 comma 10. That's a 10. And then I'm going to say 2 comma 12. I'm going to label them. A lot of you guys are getting lazy and not labeling. And I'm telling you, getting lazy is only going to cause problems for you later because you're going to label them incorrectly. y2 is 12. y1 is 10, x2 is 2, x1 is 1. 12 minus 10 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. So my equation is y equals 2x plus 8. Okay? Good luck. Make sure you turn in both last night's homework and tonight's homework tomorrow.